Hello there, welcome to another Year of Beer blog. Today we've got a new beer from a new brewery. What we've got tonight is Infra Red from the Hardknott brewery based in Cumbria. It's brewed by a guy called Dave Bailey. Up until very recently Dave used to run a pub called the Woolpack, but then as he says on his blog, he found that he was actually better at brewing beer than he was at running a pub. So the decision that he and his partner made was that they were going to sell the pub and start a brewery. And so what we've got is one of their first forays into bottled beer, I guess. It's a beer called Infra Red. I think that it's based on an American kind of an American craft beer style, an American style craft beer. That's the thing, you see. That's the thing with brewing, is that talking about beer, sometimes you start talking about a beer and you think, well, where has this come from? You know, and I know that Dave Bailey has a friend who has a brew pub in the United States, and I know that they've exchanged a lot of information over the years. And so it's interesting for me talking about beer, the cross-pollination of ideas, because there was, you know, the brewing culture in the United States is relatively young. You know, I don't think anybody would argue that. The country is relatively young. The brewing culture is relatively young. You know, it's inspired by a lot of exports from the UK and into the US in the sort of late 1970s and early 80s. And so what's interesting is that as the craft beer has grown up in the United States, how that has now kind of cross-pollinated and influenced so much a lot of other brewing styles around the world. And back in the UK again, we've, you know, what we see are people brewing classic English ales that are very, very clearly influenced by American craft beers. They're much more assertive. The hop character is much bigger and brighter. So I'm going to just pour a little bit of this Infra Red out. It's a bottle conditioned beer. It's fairly lively. It's got a fairly heavy carbonation. I can see on the label here it's brewed using Cascade and Centennial hops, and we can see from the colour that there's a little bit of not just a little bit, a crystal malt in there, giving it a red colour. It's called Infra Red. That's what you'd expect, I guess. It's good. There's a really sort of big, immediate, really that sort of grapefruity zest aroma. Really, sort of, and then underneath it all, sort of underlying it, there's also a kind of a malty fruitiness. I guess that's the crystal malt coming through. It's a really big beer. It's kind of, it's 6% alcohol, but it actually, somehow it's a much bigger bone sort of animal. It's almost, I'd almost go so far as to say it's kind of almost going over that edge of IPA, almost into kind of double IPA. It's got a real nice intensity to it. That's good. That's good. You know, for a new brewery, a new foray into bottled beer, a relatively new recipe. This is a really interesting beer. It's big when it hits the tongue. You get that immediate sort of maltiness, the big sort of malt sweetness that you can tell from the colour. You know, you can tell by that colour you're going to have that sort of slightly toffee-ish dried fruit character going on. And it's good. It's big, but, you know, crucially it's balanced. And that, for me, is the key to British brewing. That somehow, you know, in the last video that I did, we had that Moylan's Hopsicle, and the more I think about that, the more I think, God, I don't know if I've got it in me to drink another bottle of that ever again in my life. It was such a big beer. You know, it's really big, really bruising. The malt bill is really big and chewy, and the hops in it are, you know, that's so overloaded as to be, you know, almost like a physical assault. So it's really nice to have a beer that's clearly sort of inspired by all of those American pale ales and IPAs, but actually has a really nice kind of bit of grace about it. And there's no mistaking that it's an English ale. It's just got that particular character, but at the same time you can see it's really drawing on the American craft brewing tradition. So Dave, congratulations, mate. I really enjoyed that, and I'm going to enjoy the rest of this bottle. If you can find this beer, and if you're in the UK, you can probably find this beer. It's on sale in a lot of online retailers at the moment. I'd certainly suggest giving it a shot. I'm certainly going to buy a few more, and I'm certainly going to enjoy this bottle now. Thanks for stopping by. Cheers.